So it is
100%.
selfish because you put yourself first.
Mm.
It looks like it's selfish from, I guess, from the other person's perspective, but in a way it's also selfless because
Yeah.
it's also self-care, because then like you're listening to yourself without the like good girl conditioning, right? And it takes a lot of like until now I think I'm still like in that journey. It's not always fuck
Perfect.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not perfect,
Yeah. It's not.
right? Like, and that's also because of how much conditioning and programming
Mm,
we've had, right? Like, we are
mm,
unlearning years of being
mm,
told, to be good and be nice. And
mm.
when did saying what you felt and meant become about? Unleash the untapped potential within you as we dive fearlessly into the realms of healing, personal growth, self-love, and uncharted territories of the human experience. Join us as we navigate relationships, conquer career and business milestones, and explore the depths of spirituality. This isn't just a podcast, it's a manifesto for the resilient, the ambitious, the soul-searching women and men of today. Grab your coffee and let's dive in with Beyond the Surface. Welcome back to another episode here on Beyond the Surface. And today I am joined by a new badass, I'm going to say, human being. I am so excited that we have connected, and in between this space of jumping on and recording, she has helped me so much with my business, and I'm so freaking excited to have you here, Colleen. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited for this conversation. It's going to be so good.
Oh my god, I am so fucking stoked that you invited me to be on your podcast. So I'm Colleen. I'm a soulful copywriter and self-expression coach. And the funny thing is, like when I found you, I don't like check Facebook groups. Like that one day, I was just like, maybe I'll just like,
Really?
yeah, I was just like, it was just crawly, and then someone was like, oh, looking for like a podcast guest, and I was like, oh, she seems cool, cacao specialist. I was like, I love cacao ceremonies. I was like, maybe I'll just like message her. So that was just so crazy because I never check Facebook groups. I was like, I hate Facebook groups. So here I
Same.
am. Here we are. 2 months later.
Mm-hmm. Right? Oh my gosh, yeah, that's so true. It's already been a while. And
Yeah.
it's so, like, since then I immediately, like, I'm an Instagram person too. So I mean, Facebook just feels like a weird space for me too. So but just seeing your stuff and just seeing your work, I was like, I want to work with her. I'm like, I need to work with her. And, we were just talking about it, but like, you are just, I was thinking about this. I was like, damn, you're such a wizard with your words. Like, you are just so good with the way that you articulate for yourself and for your brand and your business, but also the way that you can tap into my brain and not really have any like conversation. This is our first conversation that we're actually having face to face, and
Mm-hmm.
you have just provided so much value, like, to me, and I'm so
Yeah.
grateful. And so, yeah, like, I think it's a testament as well for this entire conversation
Mm-hmm.
around expression, and specifically this selfish self-expression. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
curious to start off with a, what does that even mean to you?
Yeah. So I think when we were like talking about like what do I want to talk about, I was like, I think I really want to talk about how self-expression is, selfish.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me that means actually just willing to be like having the courage to be disliked and misunderstood, right?
Mm.
That in essence that's for me. And also like sort of like not abandoning myself and putting myself first in terms of like how I feel. Yeah.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
That
long time coming though. Like that took forever to land for me.
yeah.
So
So what
yeah.
did that look like then prior to that? I mean, I love that piece. The abandonment of self like really speaks to
Mm,
me, because I feel like we all are different, right? Like some of us don't have that type of personality, and I think it's like the reason that I say, I'll speak for myself, I sometimes don't resonate with the like rebellious energy,
mm,
because I'm
mm,
like, that's not me,
mm,
and I just know that about myself. And so
mm,
what's interesting too, even just navigating and receiving some of the things from you, it's like I can feel your like rebellious energy, and I'm like, okay, and I appreciate it, and I'm like, okay, where's my flair coming into this, you know what I mean? That's where I
mm,
think too is like we have to also be mindful and be able to navigate that, and that takes a
mm,
journey to be able to say, I might not necessarily resonate with every single piece that she might have said or written,
mm,
but I can put a spin on this and make it feel more like
mm.
me while
Yeah,
keeping it too. You know, that
yeah.
I feel like that's such a big piece of it too. But yeah, that
Mm,
abandonment is huge. I love how you explain that. But what was that like for you,
yeah.
like prior? Because you've always haven't been this way, obviously.
Yeah, no, oh
Or
my
maybe you
God.
have.
I think I archived like a bunch of like stuff. I was like on a long haul flight. I was like, I'm gonna archive this, archive all my old shit. But I was a basic ass bitch. to, to put it simply. Um uh I think I was lost. When I started my business, I was so like fucking lost in terms of like,
Mm,
oh, I'm just it felt like I had to put out the best copy hacks in the whole world, you know?
mm,
And like I'm not inventing like it's not like I'm an OG copywriter,
right.
right? So we're all talking about the same things, but trying to talk about it in a way that was like different,
Mm-hmm.
savable, shareable. Um and I think for the longest time I felt so much resistance to like posting on Instagram because of that I was like, oh, maybe I'll buy those courses on like, 5-figure DMs, how to
Oh
land,
man.
blah 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 on the DMs. I'm really focused on getting sales in the DMs. But I was
Yeah.
like, I hate this. I hate this shit. I hate it. And then I tried Instagram stories where I was like, I need to do video marketing when videos exploded and I did all these courses. And I was like, why am I like resistant to, posting on
Mm-hmm.
the interwebs when I'm a copywriter? Um, and then I just saw this girl who had, can't remember who it was, but she had a notes app screenshot on one of her posts. Although just like the way I have mine, like it's just a screenshot of my notes app. Then I find
Yeah.
a cute photo as a background. I was like, ooh, that seems like kind of easy, like path of
Yeah.
least resistance. And I was like, let's try that out, I just started like putting like little like sprinkles of self-expression. A little sprinkles here and there, little crumbs. Sometimes it was super spicy, and I was like, wait, is that me? Like, there's so much noise. We consume so much that sometimes we get lost. We forget who we are, right? And that gets,
Big time.
yeah. Yeah. So we're like
Big
kind of
time.
susceptible to like, okay, is my truth spicy? Is it sweet? Is it like, what is it? Um, and I think I started with a like whole spicy thing. Like everything was fucking spicy. But then I was like, that's just not me all the time.
Mm.
I can be soft. I love storytelling. My love for words came from poetry. So, like, that's so far from what I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that was kind
Interesting.
of my journey, just like experimenting with how I feel about what I've shared?
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that point about how much we consume, and, especially even when we stay in the space of mentors for a very long time,
Mm,
you start to sound just
Mm.
like them if you are
Mm.
not aware. Um,
Mm.
how have you navigated that? How have you navigated staying like, like this is true. This is true for me. This is my voice.
Mm.
How have you been able to find that consistency? Because I'm telling you now, from like, I don't know how long your journey has been, but to now
Mm.
I'm like, damn, I see the directness, like the boldness, and I also see like the gentleness as well
Mm.
when you go into more of like a storytelling. I see all
Mm.
these different sides of you. So
Aw.
not necessarily how are you picking, but like I know that this is true to who I am.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's a hard question. But I think I don't know if you remember the other day. I was like, I'm actually a coach ho, which is like a random term I coined, and people are like, oh, people are voting for this. Um, so I think that's like one of the good things is that I don't like stay with one coach. So then I never actually like had the time to pick up their
Same,
nuances.
same.
So I was just like, that's the only answer I have. But I think in terms of like picking up other people's, I guess, voice from the internet, right? Because we're
Mm-hmm.
consuming and everything. I think it was more like listening to my human design. When
Mm.
I'm just like, oh, that's spicy, but like, would I ever say that? No, probably wouldn't. And I'm just like, you can be spicy, but not an asshole. I'm so sorry. I don't know if you're allowed to curse in this podcast,
You could.
but
You're good. You're good.
yeah. So I was just like, yeah, that's just not me. Like, I wouldn't be mean to someone in real life. So
Yeah.
that's my only benchmark. I think like a couple years ago, there was like an outbreak, I would say. An outbreak of ethical copywriters.
Mm.
And then everyone was just like, boom, boom, boom. Everyone, I was like, shit. Like, I was like, am I unethical because I use pain points? I was like, am I a bad person? um, but then I was just like, but then this goes like, against the grain of like, copywriting as a science, right?
Mm.
So to me, I was just like, oh well, maybe no one will hire me because I'm not an ethical copywriter, right? So then that just like kind of it was basically a launch pad for me to like just whatever. I'll just do my own thing. I'll just find myself in this whole world of like changing their names, changing their whatever they call
Mm-hmm.
themselves. Um, yeah, I don't know if that made sense. My ADHD
Yeah.
went tangent.
No, 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 no. It's good. It's good. But it's interesting that you bring like human design, and I think I'm seeing too. I don't know if this is like the Manny Gen in us, but like I don't stay with the same coach either. I can't tell you the amount of coaches. I think I probably
We're
had 10.
polygamous.
Seriously, like
Yeah.
we take, but I think that's also such a beautiful thing because
Mm,
you can kind of take a little bit of this from this person and a little bit of
mm-hmm.
this from this person and a
Yeah.
little bit of that from this person, and you make your own
Mm-hmm.
freaking potion, and you
Yeah.
make your own little thing, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what makes it so fun too. And
Yeah.
you don't have to be in this like pigeonhole of just nope, I only blinders, I only work with this one person. That's where I feel
Yeah.
like we start to sound like that one person, and it's like, mm, but who are you? And you said
Yeah.
something, I don't know the exact wording that you said, but I think what you said was, would I ever say this? That simple question
Yeah.
is such an opportunity for us to be so introspective and say, and to really look at, whatever it is that you've created,
Mm-hmm.
would I actually say any of this? Like just doing that
Mm.
little audit for yourself too is
Mm.
so key.
Yeah. Because I think like I've had so many clients that I've met who are like, oh, they're so spicy
Mm-hmm.
on the interwebs, and then when I meet them on a call, they're just like, hello, hello. I'm like, hello, what? What are you saying? I can't hear. They're just like so
Oh.
different, and then like, and I think that's what happens when they like, okay, this way works, let's do it. let's make 6 figures no matter the cost. And I think like that's when you kind of burn out from the inside, you know? That's when you actually feel like you're
100%.
selling your soul. And I think I felt that so deeply last year. So I
Mm.
went through sort of like a dark night of the soul thing. Um, and I was working with a lot of business coaches.
Mm.
And AKA the messaging I was writing was hit 10K months in 10 seconds or whatever, right? It was the
Yeah.
same thing. And at that point I've gone through like, all these like inner world stuff, retreats, cacao ceremonies, and I was just like, doesn't feel aligned anymore. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
feel aligned, and I feel I think there was a point I felt disgusted with myself. That was the only word to like explain it. I was just so disgusted. I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like I'm selling my soul
Yeah.
to do this work. And that's when I was like, okay, I want to niche down, but I want to niche down like my way. So I tried to like think about like, oh, I want to work with, spiritual people, but I don't like working with like spiritual, but like beige and like just that typical that's that too spiritual person. I think you
Mm.
know what I'm talking about. I was like, I don't know what they're talking about sometimes, so I can't write for those people. I just can't. Um, and then I was like, okay, maybe not spiritual, maybe soulful, maybe that works. But then if their voice is kind of like too soft, too artful, then we
Mm.
lose the copywriting aspect of it,
Yep.
right? And I was like, okay, maybe they're badasses, but a badass, soulful badass. Sounds weird. Okay, maybe I'll work with soulful baddies. And then that's just where it came from. And then suddenly, like, all my clients were just like starting calling themselves baddies. And I was like, this is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love it.
So, yeah.
We were talking about this before we kind of started recording, but as entrepreneurs, when you're in this space and you are creating some sort of art and you're putting something out into the world, to help, to serve, it is, and there's going to be so much trial and error. And I think like we resist in a sense
Mm-hmm.
because there's this nonsense of hit the 10K, and there's a place for that. I'm not saying that there's not a place for that,
Mm-hmm.
but it's, we forget that there is this journey that we are all meant to go on. And I
Mm.
think the more that we can accept when we are doing this loop de loop,
Mm. Yeah.
the more fun we can have.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the not taking things so seriously. Like one thing
Yeah.
for myself, and part of it too, I always kind of commend. I mean, while I've been building my business, I've always had a full-time job. Like it's always
Mm-hmm.
been something that I'm doing on the side. So yes, my job gives me security, and that
Mm-hmm.
feels good for me and my nervous
Mm-hmm.
system. For other
Yeah.
people, that pressure feels good. Doesn't feel good for me. If I don't know how the bills are being paid, I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to be able to show up in my business like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that has given me support and in that aspect, and I've had that space to be able to play and trial and error, but like it is hard when you start comparing yourself to other people and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
what is wrong with me? But
Mm.
if we can shut out the noise, and I feel like this is what's happening more so in my own world, is just kind of letting go of the people that
Mm.
I follow, literally
Mm.
putting them on mute, unfollowing them, so that I could
Mm.
focus on Ashley and hear Ashley's voice and hear what Ashley's like higher self is like, yo, this
Mm.
is what you need to go. This is where you need to go.
Mm.
And connecting
Yeah.
with the right people. You know,
Yeah.
us connecting was like, and the permission that you've given me is like, I've been wanting this permission for like probably the last like 2 freaking years, okay?
Oh my
And
god.
it's just like, what a relief. And then what happens is, I know exactly how to talk to this person. And I'm
Mm.
typing away, like random things are coming to my brain that I don't know where they're going to fit just yet, but I know that they're meant for, they're meant for copy somewhere.
Yes.
And that's what's the beautiful thing is like really creating that niche down and saying like, who the hell do I want to serve? And sometimes that question is like, oh, I don't know. Start with what you don't want. Because that
Yes.
you could probably list like bam, 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 no, no,
Yes.
no.
Yes. Oh my god, I love that. Yeah. It's easier to like figure out who you don't want to work with versus who you want to work with. And I think there's so many like people who are teaching, oh, this is the way to niche down, and stuff like that. Is this niche profitable or whatever? And I think of course those things are important,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't want to serve a niche that's like dead.
Yeah.
But I think it's also important to be like, yo, like we have this fucking privilege as a business owner to finally choose who we work with, right? And as someone that worked in advertising, I had no choice but to work with like whoever I was assigned to, right? I had no choice. And
Mm-hmm.
now it felt like, okay, am I putting myself in that same cage again? Except I made the cage by myself, for
Mm,
myself, right? Like it just
yeah.
feels right. So, niche down whoever the fuck you want to.
Yep.
Experiment and just I think what you said about having a part-time job was really like a nice or like a full-time job, a really nice point to bring up because like a lot of people were like, oh, did your 9 to 5 right away, and
Ugh.
that's just so
Gross.
crazy. And I think like I tell my husband all the time, like I'm just so happy that I had like the fuck around money to fuck around
Fair.
and like experiment, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we
It's
not
it's
everyone
awful.
has the
It's gross.
privilege. Yeah.
A hundred
Yeah.
percent. It's disgusting. And especially too, because then it plants this seed that, well, I'm not all in my business.
Yeah.
And
That means
that
you're not all
is,
in. You're playing
yeah,
small. Oh god, that's disgusting.
it's bullshit. It's bullshit. Especially too, because I will tell you, when I, you know, with my full time job, last year had this like shift where I was in a different role. And so my day, what it used to look like was I had the entire day and I would work in the evening. And so I had the entire day. And it felt like, although have the exact same amount of time, it felt like I had so much more time in the day because I got to like just have a slow morning. I could just, you know what I mean? Like I had so much space.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll tell you, I was probably more unproductive than where, I finish work now and I might have an hour to
Mm-hmm.
focus on my business.
Mm.
I'm more efficient and more productive in that 1 hour
Oh my
than I
god.
was in
In
the
the full
four,
day.
5 hours
Yeah.
that I had.
Yeah. Oh my god. That should be a
So,
post.
right? Like talk about like this is what I mean, right? It's like it just doesn't make sense. Like I can't imagine if I were to quit my job, like I don't know what I would do with all my time. Like I
Mm.
genuinely don't know what I would do.
No, it's really hard to be your own like fucking manager. Just
And that's
like
a whole layer in of itself, right? Like
yeah.
now you have to manage your own time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And where have we learned that?
Mm.
Nowhere, right? Like we've had a boss telling us what to do. So it's like giving ourselves like, some grace as well
Yeah.
as we
Mm.
do this and as we build our business. And the more that you can bring play, I feel like this
Mm-hmm.
has become more of like the theme is
Mm.
play, like play and fun, and the not so serious side of it. Like
Mm. Yeah.
I think sometimes we put so much pressure on this one post. It
Mm.
has to be it. It has to be the
This has
thing.
to bring the 5,000 this month. This will do or die. Like, but you know what? I have like the strong opinion on like this play theme that's coming up. just an advice for people who are listening who are entrepreneurs is like you have to observe the people who are actually saying it. Like, are they
Mm,
congruent with what they're preaching, or are they kind of like riding the wave of like, ooh, everyone's using this like play like messaging? Because I almost hired a coach last year,
mm-hmm,
and then like I was like, bro, like she's posting every day, emailing every day, and I was like, this is not spaciousness, dude. This is like a lie. Like
mm,
I feel suffocated. Like I can't be in your world. I
interesting.
feel so suffocated. So yeah, so just observe if like they're congruent with what they're teaching. And I mean, for sure, with growth comes like you'll contradict yourself, right?
Mm,
But in that very moment, with what they're preaching,
mm-hmm.
observe. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So,
Mm.
with like, I think I'm still like, I want to unpack this like selfishness piece around
Mm-hmm.
like self-expression and like,
Mm.
how does that show up for you? Like, I think we look at selfishness as
Mm-hmm.
a bad thing.
Dirty. Yeah.
Yeah, it, you know. So,
Yeah.
did you have to switch that up in your mind first
Mm-hmm.
around
Mm.
selfishness and what that actually meant?
Yeah, for sure. So I guess just to give context, like I grew up in a religious home.
Mm,
And I'm also Asian.
mhm.
So we need to be selfless, we need to be, sacrifice, all the things. Um, and I think for the longest time I was like, I've been called selfish a lot in my
Oh
own
wow.
family in terms of like my time. And
Mm.
like I don't like my sisters borrowing my clothes. So that's a big thing.
I
so
don't like it either. That was the biggest
so
fight in
like
our house.
yeah, right. I'm like sorry, but like please. Um and then I kind of like last year when I was just like finding my message, I was just like, it just feels so weird. Like, I look at these other people and they have a clear message, but
Hmm.
I didn't want to force it for the sake of having a message.
Mm.
And then, I think when I started putting like boundaries, when I would like visit my family, because they live in the Philippines, I'm in Stockholm. So when I would visit them and they would be so shocked with like these like new boundaries I suddenly have out of nowhere. They're like, what is
Hmm.
this? Who is this person? And I was like, yeah, it is selfish to say what I want to say. But like, would I rather keep my lips zipped,
Mm.
or like do I want to abandon myself again and then feel all this like adult angst? I'm not a teen anymore, so adult angst it is. All this adult angst, or just say what I want to
Mm.
say, right?
Yeah.
And do what I want to do. And I think whenever someone says, "Oh, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't say this," I'm like, "Who says I can't? Who says?"
Yeah.
So, yeah.
A
So,
hundred
it is
percent.
selfish because you put yourself first.
Mm.
It looks like it's selfish from, I guess, from the other person's perspective, but in a way it's also selfless because
Yeah.
it's also self-care, because then like you're listening to yourself without the like good girl conditioning, right? And it takes a lot of like until now I think I'm still like in that journey. It's not always fuck
Perfect.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not perfect,
Yeah. It's not.
right? Like, and that's also because of how much conditioning and programming
Mm,
we've had, right? Like we are
mm,
unlearning years of being
mm,
told, to be good and be nice. And
mm,
when did saying what you felt and meant become a bad thing? Like when did that
mm,
become mean? Not even a bad thing. When did that become mean?
mm,
I think it's our intention behind things is
mm,
important. But I read a book. changed my life. I think it was like 10 years ago, very early on in like my journey, the journey that we call. But, it just talked about how like we take things so personally, and that's often what creates so many arguments in our lives, is the fact that we're all just taking things personally. Like when something is said, it's not like, say for example, if you were to say something to me and it really hurt my feelings, well, it's not on you. It's my reaction. It's the way I'm perceiving it. That's my responsibility. That's not your responsibility. And it's given, like, yes, it's hard, and I feel like exactly what you say, like there's just moments, right? There's moments where you're like, you just say it and it is what it is, and then there's other moments where you kind of like, you hold back and you're like, I should have said the thing, should have said it, I should have done the thing, I should have said the thing. But I do think I look at it as being selfless too, like exactly what you said. Yeah, like the selflessness part of it too is also giving other people permission to be selfish.
Yeah.
Give people, right? Like the more that we set the boundaries, the more that we speak up, the more that other people will be like, like she said no to, the simple little thing of like, no, I'm not going to this family gathering. I just like,
Yeah.
I don't want to, right? And how many times do we feel obligated to
Yeah.
go? And so it just gives other people permission to be like, I really didn't want to be here. Like, I really just am not feeling this. I could have said no. I could have said no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The more people that are in this expression, this self-expression, and they're selfish about it, I think it gives more people permission to do the exact same. And the more that we can be like, yes, me fucking too.
Yes.
And that's why I feel like people like you like end up standing out so much more and really resonating with people, because it's like, she's saying the things that like I so deeply want to say and I don't know how to say it. So
I mean, yeah. So it is selfish and selfless, and I think the more people practice it outside of Instagram, the easier it will be for them to like. Because I felt like we were like living in this like spiciness world, and I was like, I'm not spicy in real life, or like I'm not like being selfish in real life. I'm like, that's so like I'm having like an identity crisis or something. So I was like, I had to do something outside that was like to bring it back inside. So something like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
because it's true, right? Like when all the marketers are like, you gotta
Yeah.
say it like this, you gotta like, this is how you need to be polarizing, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm polarizing. I don't know what that means. I don't think I'm polarizing. Like I am
Yeah.
gonna come to you from like this like gentleness. And that's
Yeah.
just natural, what comes so naturally to me in writing. And
Mm-hmm.
I can't be any other way.
Yeah.
I just can't. Like it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. I yes, you can use things as inspiration,
Mm.
but I start to notice, I'm like, well, I'm naturally writing the way that Ashley writes, so good. Like
Yeah.
it's one of those things where we've got to take the things that we're seeing, the advice that we're seeing,
Mm.
the advice that we're seeing, and really sit with the advice. And okay,
Yeah.
what can I learn from this? What can I take from this? And what am I going to just leave behind?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even when we go into coaching containers, right? Like there's things where I'm just like, yeah, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna leave
Mm-hmm.
everything else that you just said
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah.
Because sorry, my life does not depend on email marketing. I am sorry. No
Oh my
matter how
god.
many times people tell me you gotta email market,
It's so
there's a lot of
funny to
resistance
say
there.
that. It's so funny. I just canceled my Florendo subscription like a few hours ago. I was like, fuck this. I think I'm gonna do Substack instead. So
Mm,
I was
yeah,
like, we're
it's
just
just
so caught up in the same world, and you like have to like intentionally. like, pull yourself away from it, right? Because
Yeah.
like, how can you innovate when you're in the
Oh my
same
god.
thing all the time? So like, I don't know. I don't know how to use Substack yet, but let's see. Apparently, it has a podcast, so I was like, oh, cool.
Interesting. Yeah, I've been hearing it.
Yeah.
That's like you're the third person that I've seen or heard about Substack from. So that's interesting. Yeah, it's just you got to like no matter how many times someone tells you that you've got to do something in your business,
Mm,
if it doesn't feel good, it's not going to work for you.
mm,
Like it's just not. Like I don't know, that's just my take. Like I know everything has a place. Like I see the value in email marketing. Shit, like
mm.
I purchase things from, you know what I mean? An email. I'm like, "Oh, I read some emails."
Yeah.
But I'm more so on in your DMs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Ooh, yes, me. Let's go." Like
Yeah.
that's where things are happening. So it's like, we really get to play. We get to be innovative with how we sell
Yeah.
in our business, like all of it.
Yeah. I think we've always been taught like one way. And I think as someone that helps with launches, I'm like, oh, I'm just shooting myself on the toe with like, canceling my flow test without any welcome sequences. But I was like, let's just see how it goes. I was like, I post like every quarter.
Yeah.
I was like, let's just go and Substack. Maybe when there's like less pressure to like show
Hmm.
up, then it just comes easier. Then we'll move back when it's time,
Yeah.
Um, but
100%.
the fact like there's no community aspect to email marketing. I mean, there is. It could be,
Ish.
but it's just one to one. It's not really. It's just you and that one person. It's not a reply to all kind of situation, right?
That's
So,
true.
right? And I think
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like explore. But I feel
Yeah.
a lot of people struggle to explore. Like
Mm.
I have a client and she's a manager as well, and she was like, you say you do this, but I don't know how to do that. Like I'm a manager, but I was like, yeah, but you have to go deeper. Like, what's your profile? What's your
Oh yeah.
authority? I was like, just because I'm a manager doesn't mean we operate the same way and stuff. And I think, especially when they've learned from like very masculine, strategic people that have brought
Mm.
them immense amount of results, then it's like, oh, like now what? Am I just like burning my business to the ground if I'm exploring because I'm not doing this sleazy way that I was taught anymore? And then it's hard. So I get it, but you know,
Yeah.
be selfish.
It, totally. And it's about bringing, I think, the masculine and the feminine side
Mm,
and doing the dance in your business.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's where you
Yeah.
have the structure, but you can also play in the structure. You can also
Yeah.
flow, you give yourself space to explore, like,
Mm,
the perfect thing of you schedule it in. Well, the scheduling is the masculine aspect of it. And
yeah.
then you schedule in the time to go and play, like that's what it should be. The simple thing of like my weekends are a no business zone, right? Whatever feels good. Obviously, I'm just using that as an example, but
Mm,
that's your time to go out and explore. That's your time to go live. When
mm,
I that I feel like is what happened to me. I was so just behind the screen and like nothing was
mm,
happening. I wasn't
mm,
progressing anywhere. I was just constantly
mm.
sitting here trying to figure things out, trying to do work on my business. I wasn't doing shit. There was nothing productive happening. And now that I see that it's so important to do both, to
Mm,
yes, have the structure and do the things, get the things done that need to be done, and go and live life because that's going to be supporting this and
mm.
supporting the business and supporting the growth and all of that. You know, being behind the computer screen, it's not going to do anything. It's honestly, it's like I tell the writers that I work with at Studio Press, it's like one of the biggest things is, if you're feeling like you can't even get anything through and you're trying to write and nothing's coming through, get the hell out of your house, get away from the computer screen, and
Mm.
just go do something else.
Yeah.
Go, go play, go for a walk, whatever it is, but you're not going to make any progress staring at a screen. Anything that you
Mm.
write is going to be crap, like you're just not going to love it. You're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like inspiration doesn't happen on a chair. Like it
Mm,
doesn't. It doesn't.
no.
It doesn't. My 2000 brain dumps did not happen on a chair. Maybe in the shower.
Yeah, right? But it happened from something else, right? It's and
Mm.
that's the piece that we need to, we I feel like it's sad when people are just like, I'm not creative, I'm not inspired. Yeah, because you're probably trying to get inspiration from your phone or your laptop.
Mm. Yeah.
Get out of your four walls, get out of your house, go outside, like breathe and get out. Get out,
Mm.
and you start to see the inspiration.
Mm.
I am a creative being. I am an inspirational being. I lose my inspiration and my creativity when I'm scrolling and
Mm.
so consumed. But in the last, it's just been so interesting to like work with you in this period of time, especially when I'm on this like, plant medicine journey right now with cacao. And it's like, I'm not feeling yet this desire to like jump in and like go do the thing and create the thing. But
Mm.
the downloads are coming and I just write them on my phone and
Yeah.
then I'm going to go and do and work on and work on it afterwards. It's like
Yeah.
just giving myself and releasing that pressure because I could easily
Yeah.
be telling myself a whole story around, "Oh, well, you're not getting anything done." Am I not? Am I
Yeah.
not? I don't know.
Oh my god. Oh my god. That's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. I think that we have this like perceived notion of like if you're not like writing it right away, then it's like a dead story, you
Mm,
know?
mm.
This was something my coach shared with me the other day. She was like, or was it her masterclass? I don't remember if she was a voice message or from her masterclass. She was like, let's stop pretending it's your in day one of your business. It's not. I was like, oh, ouch. But it's so true. I was just like,
Oof.
yeah. Why are we like headless chickens? We're not headless chickens, right? We're not.
Oh my
My
god, but doesn't
head's
it feel like we
intact.
are? Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
feels like we are because of the messages that's been perpetuated. And like, oh, if you're not, making six figures in your first year, then you're you
A
know,
failure.
a failure. Like I'm happy for all those people that reached it truthfully,
Mm-hmm.
but like, I'm just to be able to like work from home, work from anywhere, be
Mm-hmm.
able to like pay for my fucking wedding,
Yep.
like those are the things I should celebrate. Like I'm not celebrating them because of the messaging.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So to get
we
to work with people like you, I'm just like finally I work with people who are interested in making an impact. Let's go there.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. That's
Mm.
what I mean, yeah, that's what's that tie and that focus solely on the money aspect is it's not, it'll only last for so long, and that's why the burnout happens.
Mm.
Because then it just doesn't feel good, like we were saying earlier, right? Like that's where the burnout happens because you don't feel good. You actually don't feel good about what you're doing. It works maybe for a certain period of time until it doesn't.
Yeah.
Until it doesn't, until you're
Yeah.
like feeling gross and you're just like, ugh, who am I?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know if we weren't following each other there, but I used to call myself a sales copywriter.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like I kept being hired for sales, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I need new client sales that I can post. I need new clients. I just need, I was like a crazy person. And then I was
Yeah.
just like, I was so tired of being just hired for sales.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, I'm a writer. I'm not just a
Yeah.
copywriter. I'm like a writer. Um, just like, okay, let's get hired for my words, you know?
Mm.
And people resonate
Yeah.
because I was like, money is a secondary desire. It's not a
Yeah.
primary desire of
Mm-hmm.
humans. This is
Yeah.
why people feel so unfulfilled when they buy something that's selling just a monetary like transformation.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So interesting. So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always love to kind of end and wrap off the episode with one lovely question. So if you could distill your life's journey and wisdom into like a single piece of advice for those that are listening,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say?
Oh my god. I think I practiced this a while ago and I was like, I think I forgot. I think I would say, I think I already shared it in the earlier. It was like, when someone tells you you can't do something, just ask them, who says? Who
Mm.
says I can't do this? Or if your inner voice sounds like, Regina George or whatever, like talk back and say, who says? Who made you the ruler or like whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just question things. Just start questioning things. Like, I think that's something I've leaned to a lot. It's like, why? Why?
Yeah.
Why do beds have like a headboard? Like simple things. And my husband's like, go to bed. Go to bed, please. Go to bed tomorrow.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Why?
So
Why
why?
do it
Just
is
why?
it's such a powerful question. When you just
Yeah.
get so curious on why do I do that? Where does that come from? We can
Yeah.
really start to see and pinpoint where and why we do certain things. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's not so secret, but guess what? A lot of our childhood comes into play here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's the fact of it, right? Like our first 7 years is where we are absorbing everything. It's where we're picking up everything.
Yeah.
We're so, yeah, I know it sucks to go like and do that kind of work, but damn, when you can just pinpoint that stuff, like I realized a couple of years ago that I was such a workaholic to prove myself, to prove my worth. Why did I feel like I needed to prove my worth? Because my dad wasn't around. And I felt like I needed to be like, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing.
Mm.
See me, see me. And I was like,
Mm.
I don't need to do that. Like, I don't subscribe anymore I'm not subscribing to that story anymore. Thank you.
Unsubscribe. Yeah.
Yeah, but unless we can actually pinpoint the why,
Mm.
like I feel like it's
Yeah.
difficult to be like, I don't know. I feel like there's a difficulty of being like, I don't like that I do that. I'm just not going to do that anymore. But when you understand where it comes from and how it's
Mm.
really played out,
Yeah.
I feel like that's when you can actually do that unraveling of, oh, I really like this is where I don't want to do this. Because it can be so
Mm.
surface level when you're like, I
Yeah.
don't want to do that anymore. Okay, but why are
Yeah.
you doing those things?
Yeah. Yeah. That
Like
introspective is really important. Yeah.
100%. Why is it that you feel like you can't be selfish in your
Mm.
self expression?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god.
That's the
Thank you.
question we'll leave that with.
Yeah. Oh my god. Good luck to everyone listening.
Yeah, good luck to whatever comes through for you. But
Oh my
before we
god.
kind of close fully, I'd love for you to just share where people can follow you, especially if they resonate with you. Again, to hire you for your words. Where can they follow you? What's the best way?
Yes, follow me my handle. Like I just changed it like a few months ago and I'm like, forget it suddenly. At I am Colleen Florendo. I think Ashley will be sharing it in the show notes. And then I also have a new Substack. So please follow me there. I will share it with you. Yeah, I don't know how to use that, but please follow me there. Yeah.
I love it. Figure it out. That's it.
Yeah.
Explore the fun.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much again for the conversation. To everyone who's tuned into this episode, thank you. Sending you so much love, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Thank you for listening. Make sure to leave a review and continue the conversation with me over on social media, and we'll see you in the next episode.